The war had been raging in Europe and Asia for years. America watched from across the ocean. In 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Britain and France declared war. By 1941, most of Europe was under Nazi control. In Asia, Japan had been fighting China since 1937. The Japanese Empire was expanding across the Pacific. America remained officially neutral. President Franklin Roosevelt sent supplies to Britain. He placed economic sanctions on Japan. He moved the Pacific Fleet from California to Hawaii. The fleet would be based at Pearl Harbor, on the island of Oahu. The move was meant to deter Japanese aggression. It would have the opposite effect. Pearl Harbor was a natural deep-water port. The Navy had used it since the early 1900s. By 1941, it housed battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels. Nearby airfields held hundreds of military aircraft. Tens of thousands of sailors, soldiers, and airmen were stationed on Oahu. The base sat on the southern coast of the island. Mountains rose behind it. The harbor entrance was narrow. Inside, the water was calm and protected. Ships moored in neat rows. It felt safe. It was 7,000 miles from Japan. Daniel Inouye was 17 years old in December 1941. He lived in Honolulu with his family. His parents were Japanese immigrants. Daniel was American-born. He attended high school and worked part-time at a Red Cross aid station. On Saturday night, December 6th, Daniel went to a dance. Young people gathered at community centers most weekends. There was music and laughter. No one talked about war. That was something happening far away. Across the Pacific, 6 Japanese aircraft carriers moved through darkness toward Hawaii. They had left Japan on November 26th. They maintained strict radio silence. They refueled at sea. They avoided all shipping lanes. American intelligence had lost track of them. The task force carried 414 aircraft. Fighters, dive bombers, torpedo bombers, and high-level bombers filled the carrier decks. Pilots had trained for months. They studied maps and photographs of Pearl Harbor. They knew the exact location of every American ship. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto commanded the Japanese combined fleet. He had lived in America. He attended Harvard University. He understood American industrial capacity. He opposed war with the United States. When ordered to plan an attack, he complied. He designed a strike meant to destroy the Pacific Fleet in a single morning. Japanese leaders believed America would negotiate peace after such a blow. They were catastrophically wrong. The carriers reached their launch point 230 miles north of Oahu before dawn on December 7th. The ocean was rough. Waves crashed over carrier decks. Pilots climbed into cockpits. Crews armed the aircraft with bombs and torpedoes. Engines started in the darkness. The first wave of 183 aircraft launched at 6 a.m. They formed up and headed south. The sun rose behind them as they flew toward Oahu. Daniel Inouye woke around 7 a.m. It was Sunday. He planned to attend church later. The morning was warm and clear. Trade winds blew gently. It was a perfect Hawaiian morning. At Pearl Harbor, sailors were just waking. Sunday was a day of reduced duty. Many planned to go ashore. Breakfasts were being prepared. On the battleship USS Arizona, the ship's band had performed the night before. Musicians were still sleeping. The harbor held 8 battleships that morning. USS Arizona, California, Maryland, Nevada, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and West Virginia. They were the backbone of American naval power in the Pacific. Most were moored along Battleship Row on the eastern side of Ford Island. Cruisers and destroyers filled other berths. Support ships and auxiliaries crowded the harbor. Aircraft carriers were not present. USS Enterprise and Lexington were at sea delivering planes to outlying islands. USS Saratoga was in California for maintenance. This accident would prove crucial in the coming war. At 7:02 a.m., 2 Army privates operating a mobile radar station at Opana Point detected a large formation of aircraft approaching from the north. They reported it to the information center. The officer on duty assumed they were American B-17 bombers expected from California. He told them not to worry about it. The Japanese aircraft continued south, unopposed. At 7:48 a.m., Commander Mitsuo Fuchida led the first wave over the northern coast of Oahu. He looked down at Pearl Harbor. The American ships sat motionless in neat rows. No fighters rose to intercept. No anti-aircraft fire greeted them. Fuchida radioed back to the carriers, "Tora! Tora! Tora!" This code meant they had achieved complete surprise. The attack began immediately. Torpedo bombers dropped to low altitude. They skimmed across the harbor water. Modified aerial torpedoes ran shallow to work in the harbor's 40-foot depth. The torpedoes struck battleships below the waterline. Explosions tore open steel hulls. Dive bombers screamed down from high altitude. They targeted ships, aircraft hangars, and fuel storage. High-level bombers released armor-piercing bombs, modified from naval shells. These could penetrate thick battleship deck armor. Fighter planes strafed airfields. American aircraft sat parked in tight rows. This made them easy targets. They had been grouped that way to prevent sabotage. Now it facilitated their destruction. The first bombs struck Ford Island's airfield. Explosions ripped through hangars and parked aircraft. Fires started immediately. Smoke rose into the clear morning sky. USS Arizona took a torpedo hit on the starboard side. Water rushed into the hull. The ship listed slightly. Sailors scrambled to battle stations. Damage control teams rushed below decks. At 8:06 a.m., a bomb penetrated Arizona's forward magazine. The explosion was massive. The blast lifted the ship's bow out of the water. The forward part of the ship disintegrated. A fireball rose hundreds of feet. The shockwave was felt across the harbor. Over 1,000 men died instantly on Arizona. The ship sank in less than 9 minutes. The twisted remains settled on the harbor bottom. Oil leaked from ruptured tanks and burned on the water's surface. USS Oklahoma took multiple torpedo hits on the port side. Water flooded rapidly into the hull. The ship began rolling over. Sailors climbed across the capsizing deck, trying to escape. Many were trapped below. The battleship rolled completely over and settled upside down in the mud. Over 400 men died aboard Oklahoma. USS West Virginia took 7 torpedoes and 2 bombs. The ship settled to the bottom of the harbor, but remained upright. Counter-flooding by the crew prevented it from capsizing. Over 100 men died aboard. USS California took 2 torpedoes and several bomb hits. The ship slowly settled into the harbor mud. Nearly 100 men were killed. USS Nevada was moored alone at the northern end of Battleship Row. A torpedo struck the port bow, bombs hit the deck. Despite damage, Nevada's crew got the engines started. The ship began moving toward the harbor entrance. This was the only battleship to get underway during the attack. Japanese pilots saw Nevada moving. They concentrated attacks on the ship. hoping to sink it in the harbor channel. This would block the entire harbor. Nevada took multiple hits. Fires burned across the deck. The captain deliberately beached the ship to prevent it from sinking in the channel. USS Tennessee and Maryland were moored inboard of other ships. They were partially protected. Both took bomb hits but remained afloat. USS Pennsylvania sat in dry dock. It took bomb damage but was not destroyed. Across the harbor, destroyers and cruisers fought back. Anti-aircraft guns opened fire. Black puffs of exploding shells filled the sky. Some Japanese aircraft were hit. Most continued their attacks. At Wheeler Army Airfield, Japanese fighters strafed parked aircraft. American pilots tried to reach their planes. Some were shot while running across the tarmac. Hangars burned. Dozens of aircraft were destroyed on the ground. At Hickam Field, dive bombers struck barracks and aircraft. Men were eating breakfast when bombs fell. Buildings collapsed. Fires spread rapidly. Casualties mounted quickly. At Kaneohe Naval Air Station on the eastern side of Oahu, Japanese aircraft destroyed nearly all the patrol planes stationed there. In Honolulu, Daniel Inouye heard explosions in the distance. He looked toward Pearl Harbor and saw smoke rising. He assumed it was a drill. The military conducted exercises regularly. Then he turned on the radio. An announcer interrupted music programming. "This is no drill. Pearl Harbor is under attack by Japanese aircraft. This is no drill." Daniel ran outside. Other people stood in the streets, looking toward the harbor. Black smoke rose in massive columns. More explosions echoed across the island. Daniel ran to the Red Cross aid station where he worked. Other volunteers were already arriving. They prepared for casualties. They did not yet know how many wounded would come. The first wave of attacks lasted about 30 minutes. Japanese aircraft withdrew to regroup. Damaged planes struggled back toward the carriers. Some ditched in the ocean. Most made it back. American defenders used the brief pause to organize. Medical teams rushed to damaged ships. Firefighting efforts intensified. Anti-aircraft batteries prepared for the next wave. Some American pilots managed to get aircraft airborne despite the chaos. The second wave of 171 Japanese aircraft arrived at 8:54 a.m. They faced more organized resistance. Anti-aircraft fire was heavy. American fighters engaged them in dogfights. More Japanese aircraft were shot down in the second wave than the first. The second wave concentrated on ships that escaped major damage in the first attack. They hit airfields again. They targeted repair facilities and fuel storage. USS Nevada, already beached and burning, took more hits. Other damaged ships were attacked again. The harbor water was covered with burning oil. Smoke obscured targets. By 9:45 a.m., the second wave withdrew. The attack was over. It had lasted less than 2 hours. The silence that followed was broken by fire, screams, and the groaning of damaged ships. Rescue efforts began immediately. Sailors swam through burning oil to reach shore. Others were trapped inside capsized ships. Rescue crews cut through steel hulls trying to reach survivors. On USS Oklahoma, which had rolled upside down, sailors trapped inside pounded on the hull. Rescue teams worked for days cutting holes to pull men out. 32 men were rescued from Oklahoma's hull. Many others drowned as the ship rolled or died from lack of air while waiting for rescue. USS Arizona continued burning for 2 days. The ship was a total loss. Bodies remained entombed in the wreckage. They are still there today. Medical facilities across Oahu were overwhelmed. The injured arrived in waves. Doctors and nurses worked without stopping. Volunteers like Daniel Inouye did whatever they could. The Red Cross station filled with wounded. Daniel helped carry stretchers, applied bandages, and comforted the dying. He saw burns worse than anything he could have imagined. He saw men missing limbs. He saw sailors covered in oil and blood. Many died despite all efforts to save them. Daniel worked through the day and into the night. He was 17 years old. The final count was devastating. 2,403 Americans were killed. 1,178 were wounded. 4 battleships were sunk. 4 more were damaged. 3 cruisers and 3 destroyers were heavily damaged. 188 aircraft were destroyed. Most of the aircraft were destroyed on the ground before they could take off. Japanese losses were minimal by comparison. They lost 29 aircraft, 5 midget submarines, and fewer than 100 men. The attack had succeeded tactically. The Pacific Fleet's battleship force was crippled, but strategically the attack failed in crucial ways. The aircraft carriers were not present. The harbor's repair facilities were largely undamaged. Fuel storage tanks were not hit. The submarine base was untouched. Most importantly, the attack unified American public opinion for war. President Roosevelt met with his cabinet and military advisors throughout the day. The Japanese embassy in Washington had been instructed to deliver a declaration of war before the attack. Decoding delays meant the message was delivered after the attack had already begun. This made the attack appear even more treacherous in American eyes. On December 8th, Roosevelt addressed Congress. His speech was broadcast on radio across the nation. Daniel Inouye listened from Hawaii. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. Roosevelt asked Congress to declare war. The vote was nearly unanimous. Only one representative voted against it. America entered World War II. Within days, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States. The war became truly global. America began mobilizing its industrial and military power. The nation that Japan hoped to intimidate into peace negotiations instead became fully committed to total victory. Daniel Inouye enlisted in the army as soon as he turned 18. He joined the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, a unit composed entirely of Japanese Americans. Many of these men had family members in internment camps. They fought anyway to prove their loyalty. The 442nd became the most decorated unit in U.S. military history for its size and length of service. Inouye lost his right arm in combat in Italy. In 1945, he received the Medal of Honor. After the war, he attended law school. He entered politics and was elected to the U.S. Senate in 1962. He served for nearly 50 years until his death in 2012. He witnessed America transform from a nation attacked at Pearl Harbor to a global superpower. The sunken ships in Pearl Harbor became war graves. USS Arizona remains on the harbor bottom. A memorial was built over the wreck in 1962. More than 2 million people visit each year. Names of the dead are inscribed on marble walls. Oil still leaks from the ship's fuel tanks. Visitors call these drops the tears of the Arizona. USS Oklahoma was eventually raised and scrapped. Bodies found inside were buried. For decades, many remained unidentified. Modern DNA technology has allowed the military to identify more remains and return them to families for burial. USS Nevada, the only battleship to get underway during the attack, was repaired. It served throughout the war. It participated in the invasions of Normandy and Okinawa. After the war, it survived 2 atomic bomb tests at Bikini Atoll. The Navy finally sank it with gunfire and torpedoes in 1948. The ship refused to die easily. USS California, West Virginia, and Tennessee were all raised, repaired, and returned to service. They fought in battles across the Pacific. Pennsylvania also returned to service. Maryland saw extensive action in the Philippines and Okinawa. Only Arizona and Oklahoma were never repaired. They remain the permanent graves of their crews. Admiral Yamamoto's prediction proved accurate. He had warned Japanese leaders that destroying the Pacific Fleet would give Japan 6 months to a year of freedom to operate. After that, American industrial power would overwhelm Japan. He was right. Japan won victory after victory for 6 months. Then came the Battle of Midway in June 1942. Japan lost 4 aircraft carriers in one day. The tide turned. America advanced across the Pacific for 3 years until Japan surrendered in August 1945. The attack on Pearl Harbor killed thousands and destroyed ships. But it did not destroy American will. It did the opposite. The attack transformed American public opinion overnight. Isolationism died on December 7, 1941. America entered the war unified and determined. Japan intended to cripple America. Instead, the attack awakened a sleeping giant. The nation that produced more ships, aircraft, and weapons than any other turned its full capacity toward victory. By 1945, the U.S. Navy was larger than all other navies in the world combined. The morning of December 7th, 1941, changed everything. For America, for Japan, for the world. The world before that morning and the world after it were fundamentally different. A generation of Americans carried memories of where they were when they heard the news. For those who were at Pearl Harbor, the memories never faded. The smoke that rose over Oahu that morning marked the end of one age and the beginning of another. The age of American isolation ended. The age of global American power began. It all started on a Sunday morning that seemed perfect, until the sky filled with attackers. The morning everything changed.